Right now, you are sitting in a comfortable room. You are breathing clean air. The temperature is regulated. You feel safe. Now take all of that away. Imagine standing in a crowded street. It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The sky suddenly turns pitch black. The ground beneath your feet shakes so hard it knocks you off your boots. And the air around you heats up to 1,000 degrees. You have no phone, no car, no warning system. And the mountain overlooking your city, a mountain you have walked past your entire life, has just exploded with the force of 100,000 nuclear bombs. Welcome to the final 24 hours of Pompeii. Welcome to one of the most terrifying, sticky situations in human history. To understand why so many people died on August 24, 79 AD, you first have to understand something surprising about the Romans who lived there. They had no idea Vesuvius was a volcano. In fact, the ancient Latin language didn't even have a word for volcano. To the 20,000 people living in Pompeii and the surrounding bay, Vesuvius was just a big, beautiful green mountain. It was covered in lush vineyards, lavish vacation villas, and olive groves. Pompeii was not a primitive settlement. It was a thriving Roman paradise. It had paved cobblestone streets, heated public baths, fast food taverns called thermopolia, open-air amphitheaters, and elaborate plumbing systems. Wealthy Romans from Rome came here to drink fine wine and escape the heat of the capital. For days leading up to the disaster, there were small warning signs. Earthquakes shook the town. Springs dried up. Farm animals acted skittish, but nobody panicked. Earthquakes happened all the time in Italy. The Romans just assumed the gods were slightly annoyed, said a few quick prayers, and went back to their daily lives. They had no idea that deep beneath their feet, a massive magma chamber had been building pressure for over 1,500 years, and at roughly 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the lid blew off. The sound was the first thing that hit them. It was not a rumble, it was a deafening, sky-splitting roar that was heard over 100 miles away. Across the bay, a 17-year-old Roman boy named Pliny the Younger looked out his window and saw something horrifying. A massive column of dark smoke and ash was shooting straight up into the sky. It rose nearly 20 miles high, 12 miles higher than a commercial jet flies today. At the top, the column spread out in all directions, looking like a giant, terrifying pine tree made of fire and rock. Within minutes, the afternoon sun was completely blotted out. Pitch blackness swallowed Pompeii, then came the rain. But it was not rain. It was lapilli, millions of tons of burning pumice and volcanic rock raining down from the sky at terminal velocity. Pumice is lightweight, frothy volcanic stone. But when millions of tons of it fall continuously from 20 miles up, it becomes lethal. The rocks pelted the city streets like hail made of jagged stone. Small stones bruised skin. Larger rocks shattered skulls. Panic erupted across the city. People screamed, tripping over each other in the pitch darkness as sulfur fumes began to fill the air. People had to make a decision immediately, and it was a decision that would determine whether they lived or died. Do you stay inside your house, or do you run out into the dark? Thousands of people ran indoors, slamming their wooden doors thinking their sturdy stone homes would protect them. That was a fatal mistake, as the hours dragged on the pumice did not stop. It accumulated on roofs at a rate of 6 inches every single hour. Imagine hundreds of thousands of pounds of heavy rock piling onto wooden roof beams. By mid-afternoon, roofs began to collapse. Entire ceilings caved in, crushing families who were huddled together in their dining rooms and basements. Outside, the situation was just as nightmarish. People tied pillows to their heads with bed sheets, holding oil lamps in the howling dark, trying to navigate streets that were filling up with waist-deep piles of falling rock. If you fell in the pumice, you were buried alive in seconds. By evening, Pompeii was a hellscape. Toxic sulfur gas was drifting down the mountain. Breathing it felt like liquid fire in your lungs. People wrapped wet rags around their faces, coughing violently as they stumbled toward the city gates. Some tried to flee toward the sea. The Bay of Naples was right there, just a short boat ride to safety. But the sea turned against them. The violent seismic activity shattered the coastline. Massive waves churned, and the sea suddenly retreated, leaving boats stranded in shallow mud. Floating mats of burning pumice covered the ocean's surface for miles, creating a floating barrier that no wooden rowboat could cut through. Over in Misenum, Pliny the Younger's uncle, Pliny the Elder, a legendary Roman naval commander, decided to launch a fleet of warships across the bay on a daring military rescue mission. He ordered his captains to row straight into the danger zone to rescue trapped citizens on the beaches. As his ships approached the shore, hot ash and burning rocks rained down onto the decks. The sea retreated, threatening to ground his heavy warships. Pliny the Elder managed to step ashore near Stabiae to help trapped survivors, but the dense cloud of sulfur gas quickly surrounded him. The thick, toxic air choked his throat. He collapsed on the beach and died right there on the sand. Back in Pompeii, midnight came and went. The sky was lit by continuous streaks of volcanic lightning generated inside the ash cloud. About 2,000 people were still inside the city walls. Some were elderly or injured, unable to run. Others were looting abandoned estates, and some were simply terrified, holding their children in dark rooms, praying for the sun to come up. They thought the worst was over. They were dead wrong. The real nightmare had not even started yet. At around 6 o'clock the next morning, August 25th, the giant 20-mile ash column above Vesuvius could no longer support its own immense weight. It collapsed. Imagine a mountain-sized skyscraper of red-hot ash rock and toxic gas falling straight down onto the slopes. This created what volcanologists call a pyroclastic surge, a superheated avalanche of gas and pulverized rock rolling down the mountain like a tidal wave of fire. It traveled at speeds between 100 and 450 miles per hour. There was no running from it. There was no hiding from it. A race car could not outrun it. The first surge slammed into the nearby coastal town of Herculaneum, instantly vaporizing everyone on the beach. Then came the fourth surge, heading directly for Pompeii. A wall of black smoke and 1,000-degree Fahrenheit gas rolled over the city walls. Scientists used to think that the victims of Pompeii died slowly of suffocation from inhaling ash. Recent forensic research proved something far more terrifying. The heat of the surge was so extreme that death occurred in a fraction of a second. When air heated to 1,000 degrees hits a human body, your skin does not just burn. The extreme thermal shock causes instant muscle contraction. Victims were locked in what forensic scientists call cadaveric spasms, their bodies frozen mid-step, mid-hug, or shielding their face in the exact microsecond their heart stopped. In Herculaneum, where the heat was even higher, forensic team analysis showed that victims' brains literally boiled instantly inside their skulls, causing cranial bones to fracture from internal pressure. In Pompeii, the superheated gas seared lungs in a single breath, instantly solidifying blood in their veins. Within less than 2 minutes, every single living soul remaining in Pompeii was dead. After the surge passed, a heavy, silent blanket of fine volcanic ash settled over the city. The rain of ash continued for hours until Pompeii was buried under 20 feet of solid volcanic debris. The bustling Roman city, its taverns, its bakeries, its villas, its 20,000 inhabitants, was simply gone. It looked like a flat gray desert. For nearly 1,700 years, the world forgot Pompeii even existed. Farmers plowed fields directly above the buried ruins without knowing a Roman city lay beneath their feet. It was not until 1748 that excavators accidentally dug into the site. And in the 1860s, an Italian archaeologist named Giuseppe Fiorelli noticed something strange. As excavators dug through the hardened ash layers, they kept finding hollow pockets containing human bones. Fiorelli realized what those hollows were. When the victims died, their bodies were encased in fine volcanic ash that hardened like concrete. Over hundreds of years, their soft tissue decayed, leaving behind empty human-shaped molds inside the rock. Fiorelli came up with a brilliant, heartbreaking technique. He pumped liquid plaster into these hollow spaces and let it harden. When they chipped away the outer volcanic crust, they revealed exact three-dimensional plaster casts of real people in their final moments of life. You can look at these casts today, and it is chilling. You see a mother clutching her youngest child to her chest. You see a man sitting on the ground with his head buried in his hands, resigned to his fate. You see a guard dog chained outside a house, twisting in agonizing contortions, trying to break free. You can even see the folds of their clothing, the expressions of horror on their faces, and the leather belts around their waists. They are not statues. They are time capsules of human tragedy. The story of Pompeii is not just a story about a volcano. It is a story about human nature when faced with a sticky situation so overwhelming that no amount of wealth, technology, or power can save you. The Romans built sophisticated cities, built empires that conquered continents and paved roads across the known world. Yet when the earth beneath them decided to move, they were as fragile as the softest prey animal on the planet. Today, Mount Vesuvius still stands over the Bay of Naples. Over 3 million people live in its direct shadow. And scientists know one thing for certain. Vesuvius is not dead, it is just sleeping.